We know that journaling is powerful for mental health, especially when we consider trauma. This is why I'm excited to have our special guest on today, Sussi Mattsson. Sussi Mattsson is an executive producer, author, and international success coach. She started the From Me to You movement and speaks directly to the power of taking our pain, our past pain points, and turning them into pinnacles of wisdom to heal from trauma and grow as a person, as an individual, expand our mental health, and see success branch out in other ways. So I'm excited. With no further ado, let's meet Sussi. Sussi, welcome to the Mental Health Toolbox podcast. Thank you for making time to be on today.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I can't wait to dive in to your story. I know it's quite a roller coaster. It's profound, and I know that a lot of our listeners and viewers could really benefit from understanding your backstory, your narrative, and how you survived trauma, traumatic childhood, and use that as a strength to the work you're doing today and to help other people. So thank you. And maybe you could start us off by sharing a little bit about your work and what got you into this mission of raising mental health awareness.
Okay, so I have a childhood story when I was 8 years old, and my mom passed away from cancer. And that was 4 years after my parents had divorced. And after the divorce, I didn't see my father. So when my mom passed away, by the law, my biological father was getting custody. And he was really an abusive father. And 6 months after living with him, I found out that he was about to sell me to strangers in a foreign country.
Oh, wow.
So he had bought a one-way airline ticket and also made a false passport to me to board a plane the day after, the following day. And so I decided as 8 years old to run away from home. And so 34 years later, I found myself being successful in my work. And yet something, was missing. There was some peace in my soul that wasn't complete. So I thought that I need to go back and revisit that trauma. So I started to process that. And in that work, I found myself, I couldn't identify with that little kid who was so brave and so courageous and also follow through with actions to run away from home. So I decided I wanted to write her a letter, at least say thank you for saving me, literally saving my life. So I did that. And in that process of writing that thank you letter to my 8-year-old self, something happened in my body. There was some strange, unfamiliar feelings. And I found myself that subconscious burden and pain that I had been carrying around, that belonged to the letter. It didn't belong to me anymore because everything was in the letter. So it got me curious of what is happening here, because there were some transformational feelings. So I started to study how writing is healing. And that was the starting point of how can we address past traumas and turn those wounds into a piece of wisdom. And so I developed a 4-step method and how to write a healing letter to yourself. And I tested out to my coaching clients to really get it bulletproof. And I have clients all around the world, and they got such an amazing result. And they were so brave to sharing their stories of bravery and courage and strength and how to build resilience. So I started to call them wisdom writers and sharing their piece of wisdom.
Huh.
So the name from me to you is actually me writing the healing letter, but giving back to you my wisdom, what I have learned, the life lessons, so other people can learn and give hope to and inspiration to other people. So
Wonderful.
now, so
Mhm.
now we have wisdom writers all around the world sending in the letters that will be collected in a book collection, and yeah, it's really amazing, because I came to a point where I thought that it's really selfish to keep this method
Mhm.
uh, to me and to my coaching clients. So how can we build a stronger community and take it on a larger scale? So that led me to develop the app to have more people access to the process.
What a wonderful story. So you through your own work and personal development, healing from trauma. And it sounds like what it wasn't even started off with that intention, that maybe you were just started off with a thank you, right? Because
Yes.
you are
Yeah.
identifying with who you are now versus as a child. And that was a very pinnacle point, right? We think about
Yeah.
these turning point in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a major one. That must have been a very, very tough decision for you as an 8-year-old to run away from home and to even wrap around your head the idea that your dad was going to sell you to get rid of you. I mean,
Well, when you are 8 years old, this was February 8th, 1978.
mm-hmm,
It was a different world. But I also think that I can now understand that, of course, it took courage and strength and being brave. But I also think that this little 8-year-old girl, she didn't know. She didn't have the knowledge of the unsafe world out there, running away. Uh, and and I also know that I had this strong belief that there has to be a better life somewhere. I didn't know where, but somewhere. And I think that was also the driving force that kept me going and led me to work with other people and understanding human behavior, uh, of how we subconsciously create those um, soul-sucking survival patterns, and also building those invisible walls around our hearts because we think they're going to save us, but they're not. But so I do believe that the decision to run away was not taken by being courageous, uh, but to move to a better life and to save myself, because I thought I was worth saving when I was 8. So and when you don't have anybody around you, you need to do it yourself.
mm-hmm,
So yeah.
absolutely. To understand your own worth, right? To make the tough decisions, right? Because
Yeah.
there's no safety net a lot of times, and we have to look out for ourselves. Whether it's 8 years old or 80 years old, we have to understand that it begins and ends with us, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Yeah.
nobody's going to swoop in with a cape, and save the day, right? As nice as that would
Yeah.
be, ultimately, a lot of our well-being falls on us,
Mhm.
right? The
Yeah,
choices we make,
exactly.
the tough choices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This episode of the Mental Health Toolbox is brought to you by StreamYard, the easiest way to live stream and record. StreamYard is a professional live streaming and recording studio in your browser. Record your content or stream live to Facebook, YouTube, and all your favorite socials with the click of a button. If you're a content creator, then StreamYard is a game changer. StreamYard is the tool I trust to record all of my podcasts and YouTube videos. They even rolled out a new collab feature where you can find perfect guests for your podcast as well as guests on other shows you like, which is the rocket fuel for growing your podcast. They even have a built-in webinar feature to promote your courses and programs. This is usually an added feature from other providers. To check it out for yourself, visit thementalhealthtoolbox.com/StreamYard, or just visit the link in the description. Yeah. So, as you started this work and writing letters to yourself, you said you started to feel like there was a change within you. Do you feel like you had, because at this point, you'd already seen some success in life, right?
Yeah, in my business life, yes.
In your business life, right?
Yeah.
What was it that do you feel made you inclined to start this work of your healing the inner child, as we call it? What was your indication that that was a good thing to do at that point in time? That's what you needed. Were you hitting
Well,
like an emotional wall? Was there something that was a red
I thought
flag
that
for you?
I thought there was something missing in my own life. It, when you can be successful but yet not fulfilled. You can be successful yet not have any meaningful purpose, in life. So I think that I found myself that there is a limit, subconscious limitations of what I can do and maximize my potential. And so I thought, well, I need to go back at least to revisit it and see what will come up through that. And to be brutally honest and not afraid to go into dark places. So I think that was my driving force that kept me going. And then later on, I built a business for over 2 decades now, having coaching clients from all around. And there is always something that is holding them back from taking that next step. Or sometimes they're calling me and said, "Oh, I want to take my business to the next step." Well, we need to start with you first. So there is something always in the story. And there is a lot of people out there who are, as I say, suffering in silence because we think we are okay. And I thought I was okay for 34 years because I could function normally in my life. My day-to-day life, I was successful at work, etc. So I thought I was okay. And a lot of my clients have also that belief that I'm okay because we have closed the door to whatever ever happened to us. And but we don't know is that when we go back and acknowledge what happened, there is a whole another level of transformation that is opening up your heart. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. So you've identified that in order to be successful and happy, then there's work to be done on the back end. Do you feel like a lot of people who pursue success in life, and in your experience in working with so many as a coach, as a success coach, do you feel like that oftentimes gets put on the back burner in pursuit of success? I mean, what's your typical experience with that?
That they have lack of happiness, you mean?
Or that maybe
Well,
like successful people tend to delay that deep
yeah,
work, the personal work.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, often I find my coaching clients to not feel fulfilled, yet they're feeling successful but not fulfilled. And I usually ask them, do you strive for happy ever after or just happiness now? And so we're trying to teach how we can be happy in the moment. And that is requires a whole another skill of
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness to actually do one thing at a time and be present. Because what we have found, and from my experience working with clients, is that when they're present and mindful, there is another experience that occurs that will not if you are having dinner at the same time you're having your TV on and you're also checking the emails on your cell phone. And so I think that happiness is by default nothing that they have put on their to-do list or their bucket list. And so we're trying to teach how to live by design and not by default.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I love that. So there's power in being present, right?
Absolutely. The
There's
power
power
is
in
in the
being
present
present
moment.
because it allows us then to be very intentional, right?
Mm-hmm.
About where
Yeah.
our energy is going. And in the therapy world, we talk a lot about this idea of mindfulness. And I think sometimes people who are very anxious or, like you said, trying to multitask through life, and I think
Mm-hmm.
we all struggle with
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean, there's so much demanding for our attention all the time these days, and it's only getting worse, right? And that is,
Mm-hmm.
the currency of society is our attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's in the world of immediate gratification, it's quite the skill to learn to be still,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
To
quite the
just
skill
be.
to just be, right? And to even
Mm-hmm.
observe in something as simple as, you know, chewing our food long enough to taste it, to feel,
Exactly. Exactly.
feeling the warmth of the water in our hands when we do the dishes. And these might seem like
Mm-hmm.
small things, being able to fully participate in a conversation with a family member, a spouse, a child, and give that undivided attention without being pulled away. These are important things that oftentimes go unchecked, right? The skill
Mm-hmm.
of being mindful, being present. And that is oftentimes because we're preoccupied with these other
Mm-hmm.
tasks, other goals, even healthy,
Mm-hmm.
admirable things. But
Yeah.
what I'm hearing you say is that in order to live a life by our design, right,
Mm-hmm.
that we first must learn to be present and intentional in order to create maybe the space to visualize what it is that we even want is and what we're pursuing ultimately. Is that right?
Yeah, but I also think that for me at least, and what I'm teaching is that if we want to fully experience happiness in the moment, happiness is going on. Because
Hmm.
sometimes we can look back on a memory and we say, oh, that was a happy time. That was happy times. But when it actually happened, you were not aware of or could recognize that feeling.
Hmm.
So I think that at least what we are teaching, I'm teaching, is that be happy while happiness is going on.
Hmm.
And that also requires the skill of being present, that as you said. And because there is a lot of things you're not aware of going on, uh, and missing out, kids and your beautiful wife or whatever there is around you.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
That's beautiful, and it's so true, right? We look back, we say, "Oh, those were great times," or we watch back videos on Google Photos or whatever, and we think to ourselves,
exactly.
"Oh, but like you said, maybe in that moment we were preoccupied with something else, and we weren't really appreciating the fact that this is happening now. We just need to
Hmm.
receive it because this moment will never happen again."
Exactly.
Right. And I know in counseling we talk about improving the moment when there's
Hmm.
maybe unpleasant tasks we need to address or things we're putting off, and we talk about making the moment more enjoyable. But I don't think we talk enough about, like you've said, receiving the joy of the present,
Mm-hmm.
like really
Yeah.
receiving it, paying attention to it,
Mm-hmm.
identifying it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
like if I'm, petting my dog, just really appreciating
Mm-hmm.
my dog, that my dog won't be here
Yeah.
forever, that my
Yeah.
dog won't always be healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
even with
But
ourselves, right? Going for a walk, appreciating the fact that we
yeah,
can walk, you know?
exactly, exactly. But I also think that a lot of people forget that it's also saving a lot of energy, you
Mm.
know, because when you wake up in the morning, we have a certain energy level.
Hmm.
And throughout the day, we use our energy to different tasks we're going to do. But doing one thing at a time and be present and mindful in that moment and experiencing all the beauty in that moment, it's actually saving your energy. So we have seen that over and over in time, that people feel less tired or have brain fog, or uh, their capabilities, it kind of increases uh, by being present
Hmm.
instead of multitasking.
Yes.
And that's because of the saving energy.
That makes a lot of sense. How much of our
Mm-hmm.
energy is spent worrying or ruminating about the past or worrying about the future or what we have to do for the rest of the day, as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
just, like you said, being present, which allows us to feel more fulfilled because the other
Mm-hmm.
stuff's going to happen anyway. We're going to get to it, right?
Yeah, and yeah, but oh yeah, but if you can experience all these positive emotions, then your body is kind of in a relaxed state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that is also saving your energy. So,
Yeah.
and you are a better performer if you perform from a relaxed state of mind instead of having tense in your body, or you're stressed out, or your brain is kind of spinning around and you yeah. So it's really interesting to see how we can shift our body language and shift our mindset by by just being in the
Mm.
moment, the master of being. It's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a skill, right? That has to be practiced,
Mm-hmm.
rehearsed, reinforced. And like any muscle, if
Mm-hmm.
we don't keep practicing it, it'll get weaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so learning to catch ourselves. How do you catch yourself when you feel yourself being pulled out of the moment? Like what brings you back?
Hmm. Well, nowadays it's actually my brain.
Mm.
Because I was in a car accident in August 2016, and I was passenger in a car accident, and I got a severe brain injury. And so, if I'm not taking care of myself, I can very quickly feel that I'm having a tired brain,
Mm.
kind of a hard time finding words, or yeah, yeah, stuff like that. But so I think that the skill or that you have to train every day is, what do I want to experience? I mean, we can set our intentions before it happens.
Yes.
And yeah, because if I'm going into a meeting, I could beforehand be proactive and say, okay, when I'm going out from the meeting, I want to feel like this and this and this and this. And what do I need to do in order to feel that when I'm going out from the meeting? Or I had a client who was going to a funeral, and
Mm.
she was really stressed out because there was a lot of emotions of grief and loss and crying and stuff like that. And I tried to share with her, when you're going from the funeral back to the car, how do you want to feel? And she explained, well, I want to feel like this. Well, what do you need to do in order to feel like that? Well, I need to be present. I need to think of my strengths. I need to do this and this. So I totally believe that being proactive and intentional give us better results and better experience. And our internal experience is actually how we what happens internally, externally. But yeah, it's. I think there are different tools for different people. Now, when with my brain injury, I need to be careful and take care. But being proactive and thinking about what emotions do I want to feel, and try to focus on those and what I need to do in order to feel that way, and not be passive, and just let life happens to you, you know.
Yes, absolutely. And I just really love the way you phrase that. And I know that's something I try and practice, but I don't know that I've ever put it that way. Not even with my clients so much in terms of framing, like, how do you want to feel at different points, right? Throughout your day. Like even prior to this podcast, right? Like I was, reviewing things in your bio and maybe some of the questions I might ask and what
Yeah.
kind of value we can provide to this audience. Cause I do, I do make an effort, y'all, to
Yeah,
make sure
of
that,
course.
these interviews are valuable, for you watching, listening. But part of that is making sure that I'm in a good mental space, that I'm not just rushing into these things with, or a certain idea without really looking for the authentic value, right, that you can provide, or that I'm not just going through the motions. And so for like in today's example, I was a little cold, and I was a little tired. So I took a 10-minute power nap, and then I got up and I stood outside in the sun and soaked in some rays for a few minutes on my face. And then I came in, I made sure I hydrated. And and when I rewind, it's because we started recording this at 11 a.m. Pacific time. It was 9 a.m. Pacific time. And I said to myself, I'm feeling a little tired. How do I want to feel good when I meet Sussi. I want to feel good when we have this chat.
Yeah.
What can I
Yeah.
do to make sure that I'm feeling good? That I'm
Yeah.
feeling relaxed. And so to your point, it starts ahead of the anticipated things, right? And a lot of times if we're not being, quote, present, like you were saying, if we're not being mindful, then we're just going through the motions and we're just kind of being tossed about, by the wind, so to speak,
Yeah.
but we
And
do have a
also,
choice. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And a great tool to add on being proactive on your feelings is also identify your strength. What specific strength do you have that you can pull out and use in that specific situation? And do that beforehand. So for instance, if I'm going to a meeting, or if I'm going to conduct a podcast or a speaking or whatever I'm going to do, what strengths, like 3, 4, 5 top strengths do I have? And be aware and mindful of them to be able to use them when the actual event happens. So I think that's go hand in hand with your feelings, and work backwards.
I love that, leaning on our strengths, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Leading with our strengths and leaning on them.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when we get anxious, when we get worried about things, I don't know about you, but my mind automatically goes to my weaknesses. you know? But
Yes.
we all, regardless of how we might think of ourselves, we all have strengths, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's just being very mindful about what those are and how we can
Hmm.
lead with them, and also how we can also work on the things we're not so comfortable with, right?
Hmm.
And there's a little
Hmm.
work to be done there. But I imagine, coming full circle, the work and the global movement you've been facilitating on
Hmm.
From Me to You
Mm-hmm.
writing, journaling does a lot for this concept of being mindful. Yes?
Yeah, but journaling is, there's a couple of different things when you journal. Um, One task that I give my coaching clients is to actually journal your daily victories,
Mm-hmm.
not just doing the check mark on your to-do list, but actually write the word victory, because it wires your brain of positivity and your self-talk is more positive. So that's one way of journaling, to write down your daily victories. But also, uh, I have another topic uh, for the coaching clients for you to use in the journaling is actually for tomorrow I wish, and just leave that open, and just fill in spontaneously what comes to mind. So I totally believe in that we don't always need to journal what happened during the day, but also what we're wishing for tomorrow, and and go to sleep with those positive thoughts in our head. So when it comes to the wisdom letter, the writing method that I developed, that is more going back in time, 100% acknowledge what happened, and then identifying your life lessons.
Mm-hmm.
What life lessons did you learn through that trauma, to that through that event? And when we acknowledge the life lesson, then growth happens. And when growth happens, we are more easily to also see that we have a piece of wisdom that we actually can share with other people, and they can benefit from what you did to overcome your adversity or your trauma, and give hope and inspiration to other people. And I did a really interesting project with South Carolina prison inmates
I was going to ask
of
about that.
the writing wisdom letters, and that was really a wonderful project of how to heal all the bad things that you have done, and the forgiveness work that needed to be done to fully complete the full circle of accepting yourself and forgive yourself. So that type of writing is different from the daily journaling, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really interesting to see the transformation that happened over those sessions that I have with the inmates, and how they reached a point of forgiving themselves, but also others, and be able to come to a place of peace in their heart and share their piece of wisdom to other people who are out there and currently struggling with
Mm-hmm.
different kind of uh, things. So it's really kind of two beautiful gifts in the wisdom writing method, because the first gift is obviously to yourself, because you're
Mm-hmm.
visiting your past trauma and healing yourself. But the second gift is you giving to others. And I think that's the beauty, and also the reason for the name, from me to you, giving back, and how we can collectively heal. And yeah,
I
it's
love that. So it has kind of a dual meaning, right? So we're doing the work on
yeah.
the self. It's kind of like a gift from me to our inner child, but then or our past selves. but then it's also a testimony to others.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's saying like,
Exactly.
this was
Exactly.
my life lesson. This was
Hmm.
my what I learned from my hardship, how I turned that into a victory, right?
Hmm.
And you can too,
Hmm.
right? That's
Exactly.
powerful. No wonder it's spreading like wildfire.
Yeah, and
Everybody has
also
hardships, right?
absolutely, I totally believe that everybody has a story to share, and when we are collecting those wisdom letters in the book collection, then we will be able to give hope and inspiration to other people that they too can change their life into another direction. And for some people, it will be a survival guide. And so, yeah.
It's wonderful work you're doing,
Mhm.
Sussi. Now, when we were talking just a bit ago, you were saying there were really four steps, right, to this
Mhm.
process that you
Mhm.
you encourage. Can you speak a little bit to maybe what those four steps are in more detail?
Okay, so the first step is acknowledging the wound
Mm-hmm.
because we need to tell ourselves the the truth, the right story, and not changing um, the narrative. So the first step is to go back in time and totally be brutally honest to yourself. What happened? And from my experience and wisdom, thousands of wisdom writers, this is one of the best steps, the first step, because when you acknowledge what actually happened, there is a shift that's happening in your body. And because a lot of people are closing the door or pretending it doesn't exist, or they have secrets that they have not told anybody. So that step is really important. And then the second step is identifying your life lessons. And life lessons, we are, through this method, we are dividing the life lessons into three different categories. And that is for you to experience maximum results. And the first is obviously the life lessons you learned about yourself. That is the first step. And then the life lessons you learned about other people around you. And then the life lessons about the world in general. And when you divide the life lessons into these three different steps, it's it's giving you a higher level of awareness that who you are and who you have become and what have shaped you. And there will arise a better understanding of your often subconscious patterns that you have been creating to be able to survive or handle the day-to-day life. And then we have obviously the forgiveness work, and that is also divided into different steps, um, and a lot of questions around the forgiveness work. And then we are ending up with the wisdom that you're sharing. So you need to be able to transform your life lessons into piece of wisdom, being able to give back to other people. And I think that what we have seen from the many wisdom writers is that there is something in their heart that is the driving force of leaving a legacy,
Mm.
and and do it because you can help somebody else, not because you're earning some money or different kind of benefits, but because your willingness to help somebody you actually don't know, because it's so easy to reach out to a friend who is struggling, because you can share your life experience and give them some piece of advice. But the thousands of wisdom writers we have, they're actually giving the piece of advice to somebody they don't know.
Right.
And
Paying
I
it
think
forward.
that's the beauty. Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, that their willingness to leave their legacy of significance, and understanding that we need to collectively heal humanity, and not just, it's not a me journal, it's we togetherness.
So
So
we journal. Oh, I love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Susie, for sharing that. That's very
Thank you.
powerful, and it makes really really good sense. And I can't wait to dive more into these concepts of wisdom writing.
Mhm.
And you've got a lot you're building around that. You said you have an app coming out.
Yes, the From Me to You, and there is a wisdom letter writing program, of course, and also uh, a mindset. Uh, what we have learned over 2 decades of coaching people from all around the world is that whatever struggles they have, it always comes down to three things.
Hmm.
So I call them the big three: the
Oh, hold on. Gotta
self-awareness.
hear this. Let's lean in for this one.
Okay. So, yeah, uh, when you're kind of summarizing over 2 decades of coaching thousands and thousands of clients, you can see that there is a pattern, that this challenge they have had, uh, or coming to me to get help, is always getting down to three things. And so I started many years ago, I started to call them the big three. And that is the self awareness, the mindset, and your attitude. And so we have a special program that is called the big three. So I think and hope that through the app, we can reach a larger scale of people. And because I felt it's kind of selfish, to keep both that program and also the wisdom letter writing program to myself and to my clients, when so many other people around the world could benefit from it. And especially when we see the results of what happens after they have written their wisdom letter. We have one woman who was a survivor from the Boston Marathon,
Hmm.
and how she was able to do the forgiveness work. We have a young man under 30 that totally lost connection with his mom, who was in jail. And for 15 years, they didn't talk. And after he wrote his wisdom letter, he booked the plane and got to the city and visit her. So we have all these
Wow.
wonderful stories of transformation, what happens after you have written your wisdom letter. And that is a beautiful testimonial uh, to the movement of the helping others and give back.
Absolutely. And could you just kind of recap those three for us again, just in case we missed it? I missed one. The three biggest challenges to healing, you said, were
The big three, I call it the big three.
the big three.
Yes, and that is your mindset, your self-awareness, and your attitude.
Hmm.
So what we have seen is that whatever struggles or challenges my coaching clients or the leadership programs I have conducted, it always comes down to those three
Those
things.
three.
So when you look at your mindset, because you take your mindset with you everywhere you go,
That's right.
so
It influences
so
everything. Yeah.
so you need to understand and learn, how can I work or uh, train myself to have a beneficial mindset, and also what if I can raise my self-awareness just 5%? What will happen to my life? If I can raise it 10%, what will happen? Because there is a change coming with the level of self-awareness. And it's really hard to change if you're not aware of whatever going on. And then we have your attitude. And sometimes we are not aware of the attitude we have, not just to others, but also to ourselves. If we have, for instance, negative self-talk, or we're punishing ourselves for different things, or being a perfectionist instead of just being good enough. There's a couple of things there. So it have shown over and over again that it always comes down to those three things.
Thank you so much, Susie, because we would have missed that had you not brought that up. So thank you so much. That's really, really important to know. Now I know you're a wealth of wisdom. You've coached so many people, like you said, internationally and on success, and that the deep work, right? That gets us unstuck, right?
Yeah.
And so appreciate that. So the app is on the horizon, right?
Absolutely. And so it's from me to you. And if they go to the website, it's from me to you movement.com.
From me to you movement.com.
Yes. And you can find everything there, the books, the movement, the wisdom life, testimonials, the videos, everything.
Wonderful. Definitely be checking that out. We'll be sure to put that up in the show notes. And you have also your book coming out, yes?
Yeah, the From Me to You. That first book is about my my life story, the 6 months of my childhood story. And also what happens afterwards when I ran away from home. Because, it could end differently. The story could end differently, running away from home. But I believe that we can have all sorts of ending, but we also need to remember that we also arrive at different version of ourselves. So so that will be the first book, and then we have the book collection of wisdom letters from other people, and currently we have 29 different titles. So
wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, so hopefully there will
be collection.
It will be a book for everybody to read and be inspired and feel that there is hope and not suffer alone.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And how does one become a wisdom writer if they wanted to contribute to the cause?
Oh, they can sign up through the app or From Me to You, or go to the website from me to you movement.com. And
wonderful.
I will be happy to have you. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be excellent. Thank you. Hear that, everybody. If you want to contribute and pay it forward, there you go. There's your opportunity. So is that done anonymously, or does one need to disclose?
Well, you can choose that yourself if you want to sign up with your real name or not. But I think that for some wisdom writers, they have actually revealed family secrets. And they are the first one who is breaking the generational trauma.
It's kind of what I'm thinking. That'd be a big
hurdle.
Right.
So for some reason they don't want to reveal the name of hurting family members, or if they have been raped by family members, or those kind of stuff. For the South Carolina prison inmates, they actually used their prison number, to
self-identify.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's different. It's totally your own decision if you want
Mm.
to sign up with your name or not, and contribute to so we can help as many people as we can.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love that you have built a community around this cause, and this makes perfect sense to me because so many people go around in silent suffering,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's this obvious apprehension and stigma to being vulnerable, especially
Yeah.
for certain sects of the population, right? And men, and not to stereotype, but there's all kinds of challenges with
Absolutely.
sharing lived experience and
Hmm.
admitting that we all have a bag,
Yeah.
and we don't have to
Absolutely.
keep it in a closet, so to speak. So
Yeah.
thank you, for the work you're doing, and I look
Thank
forward to
you.
seeing how things move along. You're welcome back on to share once everything is live and the book launches and the app is up and running. Maybe we can do a walkthrough, do a live
Okay.
walkthrough of the app. That'd be
Absolutely.
great.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Yeah, I would love to.
Oh,
Thank you.
wonderful.
Hmm.
Well, I appreciate you being on and sharing your wisdom and your story and this wonderful work you're doing to raise mental health awareness. And as they say, no one's better until we're all better, right? So
Yeah.
thank you for that. And I hope
Thank
you have a
you,
great
Patrick.
week, and can't wait to have you back on to show us what you're up to.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick.
All right.
Thank you.
You take care, Susie.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye.
Hey, if you're getting value from this content and you haven't done so already, be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and podcast, and be sure to subscribe to the MHT newsletter. That way you don't miss out on any new content as it's released. Links in the description.